Welcome to part 2 of our 15 days to harvest series. In this video we're going to be talking about the materials that you will need, we're going to be talking about soil, and we're going to be talking about what we're going to be growing. For our project I'm using 2x6 boards, and these are some boards that I had here laying around, so it's not costing me anything. One thing that I would recommend is that you use untreated wood because there's no chemicals in it. They're not going to last too long though. I'll give it 2 seasons at the most, but that's good for us because we can't replace them or do something else. Now the really important part of your garden bed and your garden, yes, the seeds are important, a place to have them is important, but this is really important. This is life. It really smells like life. It smells like earth. This is soil, and this is something. This is a living system here. There's a lot happening in here that is important for the well-being of your plants, and so this is that one step where we really want to pay attention. So we want to give our plants the best possible soil we can, and so when you look at this one, we have this dark soil that is fluffy and is rich in organic material, and it smells so good. It smells so earthy. It smells like there's life in here, and there is a lot of life in here. And so this is it. Okay, this is it. If you want good vegetables, you want some great food, starts here. Okay, and so what I'm showing here, this is some compost that we have. Well, part of it we made ourselves, part of it we sourced in because we buy some compost occasionally for our needs here at the farm. But anyways, I would suggest that we start with make your own mix. You can buy some decent garden soil out there, but it's going to be expensive if you buy it directly. Plus, some of those things already have chemical fertilizers already in it, and so you want to stay away from that. Okay, so ideally I would suggest that you go with some kind of organic matter and make your own mix. Let me show you then how we go about mixing our soil, or what we're going to be putting on it. Most of the nutrients that your plants are going to need are going to be present in the compost, and so that's going to be our primary source of nutrition, if you will, for your plants. But compost by itself has a tendency to dry out pretty quickly, so that creates some problems. Also, those nutrients can be depleted pretty quickly too. Okay, so most of the vegetables that we're going to be growing would like a pH in kind of a neutral or slightly on the acidic side, and I'll spare you all the details here, but we're gonna help out that compost then by adding mined material. This is peat moss, which is going to help add some amendments to the soil, and it's also going to help control or keep that soil pH kind of work in the neighborhood of what we wanted. So peat moss is going to be our second main component into our soil mix, and the third one is something that you've probably seen around. We're going to use vermiculite, and vermiculite is another mineral that is going to do 2 things for us. I just pulled out a little bit. Is weightless. This thing is weight. So it's so light. But one thing about vermiculite is that it's going to help maintain the soil aerated. But more importantly, this thing is going to absorb a lot of water, and it's going to hold it there. And so it's going to keep our soil hydrated, so to speak. Alternatively, you could use perlite, and perlite tends to be a little coarser. Perlite will do the same. Will do the same thing, except that vermiculite tends to hold more water than perlite, and so I think it does a better job at hydrating. But I've tried both, and with good results in both cases. And I don't know the science behind them very well, except that they essentially play the same role. They help out with keeping moisture in the soil and help out with keeping air in the soil, which is very important. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to mix two parts of compost per 1 part of perlite or vermiculite and 1 part of peat moss. That's my secret. That's all I use. And so now we get to talk about seeds, the seeds that we're gonna be growing in our polyculture. So the principle behind this polyculture is that we're going to combine multiple species of plants, and they're going to interact with each other, either attracting beneficial insects or repelling some other insects, or fixing down the nitrogen in the soil, so that together they form a community of plants. Talk about diversity. And so what we are doing then is bringing in different species, as I say, that are going to help, and they're not going to compete with each other. For instance, if you grow some carrots, you know that they have a taproot that goes down, right? So set your carrot next to something else that has a shallow root, like an onion or so. There's not much competition for nutrients there, right? And then if you have something like a lettuce next to it, that lettuce is going to benefit from the little shade that the carrots are going to produce. The onions, they don't produce much of a shade, and because they grow vertically. And so that's the kind of interactions that we're interested in. Now, what I'm doing is my own version of something that Toby Hemingway discusses in his book, Gaia's Garden. I strongly recommend this book, especially if you're into permaculture. This is a great resource with the great tips and ideas on how to do this thing. So he goes over these polycultures in some detail, and as I say, what I'm doing here is my own version of it. So let me tell you which species I'm selecting for this one. Now, there's a little bit of room here, okay? So I'm just gonna walk you through different groups, and then you can select whether there are things that you like and things that you don't like. For one thing, if you don't like to eat carrots, what's the point of growing carrots, right? So let's go about what I have, and then you feel free to add or take as you are designing your own. We are in early spring here in our growing zone 6. Our last frost day is approaching. It's going to be in 1 week, and so we're kind of designing what we're growing based on the climate that we had ahead. Now, these things can be adapted depending on when you start them. They don't have to be started right at the beginning of the spring, you know. And I'll be happy to answer some of the questions if you want to do that, or if you're in a different climate zone, okay? But anyways, here's what we have. So we'll start with some kind of cover crops to get this thing started, populated, and growing very, very fast and quickly. So I'm gonna start with a mix of arugula, golden purslane, and yeah, this is something that we normally don't see out until later in the season. I'm just gonna try. This is an experiment. I'm also gonna try some garden sorrel. Sorrel is a spring crop, and And this is something that may or may not come, but if it does, this is it's gonna be great. This is buckwheat. Buckwheat is something that in the summertime will germinate in something like 2-3 days. This is something that if we get a temperature there's a little warm or warmer than it should be, this stuff should germinate pretty soon, which means that in 1 week instead of 15 days we're gonna be cutting those slips and eating from them, and they're wonderful in your salads. So then I'm going to prepare a second group of seeds where I'm going to have some carrots. In this case, I'm going with a variety that only grows to about 6 inches, and so this is Scarlet Nantes. And I'm going to also throw in some radishes. I'm also going to throw in some Swiss chard at that point, and some wild lettuce, or at this point you can use any kind of lettuce that you have, but we have plenty in our main garden, and so I'm just going to go with some garden, just spring greens. And the third element we're going to add is some legumes. In this case, we're going to use some fava beans, and we're gonna grow some sugar snap peas, and so these two are obviously, yes, they're producing food, but they're also are fixing nitrogen in the soil, so they're playing a dual role there. We are also going to do some calendula flowered seeds. I might even let some of those go to flowered, but these things are edible. The flowers are edible, the leaves are edible, so we can harvest them either as microgreens or as they establish. Then we're going to add some dill to it. We're going to add some fennel. These are my herbs. I could add some cilantro too, and I thought about it, but we have a huge bed of cilantro, but this will be a nice herb to throw in at this point. I would probably not put any basil right now, but eventually I will. And the thing is that it might be a little too cold for basil now, but again, you can try some of those things. You can put in your alliums at this point too, so I'm gonna throw in some garlic chives and leeks, which I don't have seeds now, so I have to buy those. Okay, so finally we have this is the only thing that I'm not starting from seeds, and this is, well, cabbage, obviously, because it needs a head start, so to speak. Otherwise, by the time they mature, they're going to be too it's going to be too hot, and so we want to harvest these things still in the spring. And this is a 45-day variety of cabbage that I found at the garden center the other day. All of the seeds that I'm using are certified organic, and thankfully many garden centers will sell them. We have all these. We have all these seeds. We have the soil. I hope you're enjoying, and I hope you join us again for part 3 of this series. Thank you very much for watching, and blessings to all.